In the open versus secrecy lecture, we have been discussing about what is secrecy, why do we need to discuss about the relevance of secrecy, how much a government can afford to have secrecy in its governance. Secrecy gives those in the governmental power, particularly people have exclusive control over certain areas of knowledge. If you control the knowledge, then you have the power. So, how to control that? How to control the problem of having accumulated power in one side instead of giving it to the public, that is the idea that we will be discussing in this particular lecture. Actually, one of the American jurists, and he is the one who was defending the first amendment. You will be knowing that what is the first amendment in the American constitution, that nobody can make a law to control the freedom of information. That was the first amendment ever made in the American constitution. So, one of the defender called William Douglas. William Douglas says that secrecy in government is fundamentally anti-democratic and perpetuating bureaucratic errors, and open discussion based on full information and debate on public issues are vital to our social health. If you want to have a good governance, then you should have a open government only. So, he says that it is fundamentally anti-democratic. Secrecy is only a anti-democratic one. And there is another French author and journalist called Emily Zola. She says that when truth is buried underground, when you are burying a truth, it grows, it chokes, it gathers, and such an explosive force that on the day it bursts out, it blows up everything with it. So, when the truth is buried, you can't bury a truth, only secrecy can be maintained, but truth cannot be buried. The French journalist come author, first he says that when you bury it further and further, it chokes, it develops, and one day it bursts. When it bursts, it brings out all the information inside in it. So, that is a problem with keeping the secrecy. If you look at India, we have one draconian law called Official Secret Act 1923. Actually, many successive governments since independence have tried to amend that act and modernize it in order to meet the standards and the quality of the modern governance, but we could not make it. Even today, we have, on the one hand we have right information, on the other hand we have Official Secret Act, and the act was introduced by British. They have completely done away with this act. Actually, many governments, many successive governments have tried to amend the act. For example, the Press Law Inquiry Committee, the Press Commission 1944, the Law Commission 1971, and in 1977 there was a working group to amend the possibilities of amending the Official Secret Act. And if you look at the ideas of the intellectuals, they say that modern state is based on the secret. Secrecy therefore can be understood as a recognized and necessary dimension of political action. They say that it is inevitable. They say that it is a necessary and it is a inevitable political action which cannot be done away with it. Secret was seen as a display of cleverness, as necessary and useful. They think that it is a clever thing to hide something, clever thing to be cunning towards something. So, secrecy has been seen as a clever thing, but on the other hand the citizens, the subjects were increasingly passive and to demand a transparency of their individual lives, which was illustrated by the stately inspection rights of the government. This is called supervisory power of the state, potestas inspectora. The potestas inspectoria was a power that has been given to the state to inspect a government. By virtue of the supervisory power, the state assesses the conditions and circumstances under which it is possible to specify the measures necessary to achieve the goals of the state. Under what conditions the state should be operated? If the goals of the state is very high, then they can think about operating the supervisory power of the state. While secrecy has been legitimized in the functions of absolutist democracy, it become increasingly ambiguous with the rise of democracy. Democracy is rising and people are becoming much aware of that, aware of their citizenry. So, secrecy, maintaining secrecy becomes a challenge for every governance. So, it is based on the idea of transparency of the government and therefore, cannot easily accept democracy. The democracy cannot easily accept secrecy. We need to have very strong reasons for maintaining or segregating some ideas or some files or some information beyond the scrutiny, public scrutiny of the public. And in Denmark, the public authorities can take to make the conduct of public affairs transparent. They have given a specific instructions that how the public authorities have to operate in order to divulge informations. One is providing access at their own initiative to the information they hold. If I have some information, I should take my own initiative, so that all the information that I have can be easily percolated to the stakeholders. The second one is upon request, providing access upon request to information they hold. So, if somebody is asking information, the first one is I am offering even without somebody is asking. Number 2, when there is a request, then I should not control myself, I have to divulge it everything to them. Number 3 is involvement of public through hearings, open meetings and campaigns. Try to involve the stakeholders as much as possible, involve them in the meetings, involve them in the hearings and involve them in the decision making. And the last one is involvement of the public in policy formulation. How much we can afford to bring them into the fold in the decision making, particularly in the policy formulation and through participation in relevant committees and boards. Whatever be the committees, then I need to take them into the board, so that they can be the part in the part and parcel of the decision making. If you look at the international and national standards of freedom of information, there are a lot of protocols, instruments available globally as well as locally to advance the level of divulging information. As we have seen in a couple of minutes back, that Article 19 of UDHR argues that everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes the freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. In the same way, we have the ICCPR, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. The Article 19(2) says that everyone shall have the right to freedom of expression. The same way what Article 19 of UDHR, the ICCPR also argues that everyone shall have the right to freedom of expression. The right shall include freedom to seek, receive and impart information and ideas of all kinds regardless of frontiers, either orally, in writing or in print, in the form of art or through any other media of his or her choice. Same way, African Charter on Human and People's Rights, ACHPR, that was enacted in 1981, that says that every individual shall have the right to receive information. So, all these things are being articulating the everyone shall have the right to receive the information. And the second argument is every individual shall have the right to express and disseminate his or her opinion within the law given to him or her. So, another aspect of instrument or another instrument that is available with the international domain to discuss about the openness or access to information is called ACHR, and Article 13(1) of ACHR reads, everyone has the right to freedom of thought and expression. This right includes the freedom to seek, receive and impart information and ideas of all kinds regardless of frontiers, either orally, in writing, in print, in the form of art or through any other medium of one's choice. Actually, whatever that we have seen, they are all arguing the same thing, that everyone will have the access to information, impart, seek, retrieve and disseminate information. So, these many things have been discussed in the international instruments. If you look at the Asian position, what is the level of Asian charters or Asian bodies that have evolved? We have one thing called Asian Human Rights Charter. The Asian Human Rights Charter of 17th May 1998 is a rights declaration of Asian civil society, in which this particular charter endorses the international human rights instruments and principles, including the right to information. So, what we have been seeing in this presentation is that secrecy is the bedrock of persistent form of corruption. If you have the secrecy, then it sustains and perpetuates the corruption, which undermines the confidence in democratic governments in so much of the world. Not only about the particular governance, about the world also there is a undermined confidence in that. So, this particular presentation on secrecy has given you an idea of the problems having secrecy in the democratic governments. The openness is very much liked by the international thinkers and activists, and they have evolved so much of instruments globally, nationally as well as regionally. We have something at Asian level, something at the international level, and all the instruments they talk about the need to have a open access to information.